Everybody, it's the Mad Master here. I'm just doing a quick video. Now, these things get in my head, and I'm just like, why not do a video about it sometimes? So this video is about the one and only God of Rock, GG, Kevin Michael Allin. And it's been dead about 30 years now, a little bit over now. And I just was thinking, like, what if, it's like one of those what if kind of situations, what if he would have lived a couple more months? Would he have made a name for himself, like with a more mainstream audience? Would he have just like destroyed the entire rock, tore up the whole rock world or whatever you want to call it? And I'm thinking, well, it's hard to say like where it would have gone as far as like. And by the way, as not addendum, but there's a little disclaimer. Like, I know that this is kind of contradicting my film video. Like, I just did the other day. I was like, what is the point of saying all these things are so debasing culture and society? Well, G.G. Allin was like that. Well, G.G. Allin was kind of going against the grain, though. And the grain, when the pendulum swings too far in one direction, that's where things need to be shaken up a little bit, in my opinion. So that's why I kind of, for all the victims, that Gigi had, obviously, at his shows, I mean, let's not kid around. Like, after a certain point, you knew what you were getting into if you went to a show. Like, maybe not early on, But it is, as strange as it sounds and as gross as he was, purportedly, not only gross, with hygiene, but in other ways, he had a huge female following. It's crazy, but it's like the serial killer phenomenon, So anyways, he was on all these talk shows right before he died. He was on like Jerry Springer, Geraldo, Sally Jesse Raphael, he was on all these shows. he was hilarious in my opinion. I just watch it, and there is some problematic things going on in the show with his people that he brought along, of course. But let's just, for the sake of this video, I'm not going to go into the dynamics of that at all, because what am I going to say? Like, so nevertheless, I think what would have happened, there could have been a couple of different things that could have happened. He could have went more mainstream and softened it up a little bit, but still kept the novelty of going to a show. He could have just escalated it further and just gone into full-blown terrorism, blew up a stage or something, blew himself up on stage or something, crazy like that. Or he could have just thrown poop at people still, and I don't know, Or he could have just, I think this option was probably the most plausible. I think it would have formed some kind of cult, and there would have been a phenomenon. I think it would have been like maybe halfway to ICP, like a Juggalo kind of thing. I don't think it would have been as high as that. He had to get more of his shit together. Pun intended. But, the thing is that people talk about him dying from a drug overdose, but his main thing was alcohol and cocaine to some extent, or to a large extent. And I think he died from heroin because he was just not used to it, because he never was an addict, really. So when he medicated himself, you watch that last video, it's definitely self-medicating, as they call it in Gen Z parlance now, So I think it could have been one of those things. If he would have lived, it would have been interesting to see him live. Maybe he would have just become an outlaw country musician and just quit all the stuff, or most of it. Probably would have died sooner or later, like early, because he had already put himself out through so much things with his body, like broken bones and blood poisoning and all this terrible lifestyle. It's not only just the drugs or alcohol even. So I don't know, it's hard to say, but to say that, I've talked about this before, and I do stand by this, even though people might see it as contradictory. I don't see it as contradictory. I can go into why later if people want me to. Because contradictory with what I've said before, about culture and society, modern culture. But I think we need someone and as just a little disclaimer here, I don't support like assaulting people or women or anything like that, or dead animals like he did, which it's gross. Anyways, I actually had a video cassette that was a GG Allin. It was GG Allin stuff. It was like early stuff, and then it was like this later show where there's a cat. That's all I'll say. It was pretty disgusting. I threw it away. I used to throw away albums and stuff because I was like kind of a Christian and like, misfits are gonna cause me to go kill people, or I used to be like buy into like a little bit in subliminal messages or something like Slayer, So I threw away a bunch of albums when I was a teenager. Of course, I'm not into that now, but this is something like I used to throw away stuff, right? This is the only thing I ever threw away like in more recent times, is that video cassette, like so it's like 15 years ago or something. But anyways, video cassette. It was disgusting, it was horrible. Anyways, so I don't condone any of that stuff, but I think we do need someone just to break shit up, and I don't mean like Elon, I mean like break shit up, like just break the cultural mores, shake things up. And I don't know how that would happen or what it would involve or entail, but it just like the complacency is just, it's just annoying, and I think there should be, I want music to be like that again. I'll be honest. Like there's a place for safe, contrite types of things, but there's also a place for transgression and decadence, in my opinion. I think there should be more of that, at least a little bit more of it. Just sprinkle it in there more. The most dangerous show that I've been to, probably more recently, was one of the Steel Panther ones years back, where they invited girls on stage to take their shirts off, and then the next one I did, they didn't even do that because we'll be respectful. It's like, well, if you're going up there, you probably, like I said, like people that know of Steel Panther know that they used to do that. It's like there is consent in that situation. I'm sorry, But anyways, that's not what I mean. I just mean people that push the boundaries. People aren't pushing any boundaries. There's no boundaries to push except for like a neo-Luddite movement. I think would be a way to push boundaries now, with what's going on with techno-feudalism, or all these things that are going, like just the global techno class, whatever you want to call it, billionaires stuff. That would be a way to do it, like a movement to get back to not having a smartphone, just like things like that. But how would you take that into a relevancy, into like a rebellion that's transgressive? I don't know. I mean, I guess it would have to be. See, things are so fast now that it just couldn't catch on that way, Just things go too fast. That's the thing. We live in this kind of like thing that's just chaotic now. It's not like it used to be where it was just like slow thing, things were a lot slower, So I don't know. But yeah, do I think there should be a new like transgressive artist that pushes the boundaries? Yeah, and in a way, like I don't think GG Allin is quaint. Quite the opposite at this point. I mean, obviously it was like we wouldn't do that. No, like I was listening to this podcast about Gigi's life. It's like, oh, it was the '80s, so they didn't report it. About Gigi's activities on stage. It's like, I don't know if that's true. Like, first of all, things were not as communicative back then. You couldn't just like, you probably had to fax someone or call a police or something instead of like texting something or filming it with your camera. So it's just kind of stupid stuff. I just get mad about, them trying to like place any kind of decade into like this social thing. Like they're trying to like, they're trying to like talk about standards from back then where like, oh, we've come so far. It's like, well, maybe, but like, was that really why he wasn't arrested for so long? I mean, in the late 80s, they had 53 warrants in different states. So, I don't know, people weren't aware of it. And the audience that went was just like, they knew what was going on, usually, at least early on, I think. Or not early on, but maybe in the middle Really, I don't know. Anyways, I'm kind of rambling, but like, yeah, I think he could have lived a little bit longer, and he would have been probably beat Marilyn Manson as far as shock and the parents and the preachers and all this stuff. He could have really made an impact. But I don't think he could have made an impact like Marilyn Manson because it just never was going to be that. But he could have been bigger and more insane and done some crazy stuff. And sometimes I wish he did. Sometimes I like that. Sometimes I like it's a little bit of a shaking things up. But people are harmed by some of that. So, anyways, that's about all.